All right, in this video, it's going to be a quick walkthrough of the code and also running the microservices locally on our desktop. It's not really microservices. We are going to be running 3 Docker containers on our local desktop to simulate the microservices architecture, just so we can get a feel of it before we start working with AWS. In the next video, we're also going to jump into the AWS console. If you don't think you need a code review and you don't want to run the microservices locally, then you can skip ahead to the next video. If you're still here, let's go ahead and walk through the code. Here's the repo, AWS ECS Service Connect, code, clone it right here, open up your terminal, and do git clone, paste the URL, and boom, you got the code. I'm going to have the URL on the screen when I'm doing this, and also in the description below. It says private now, but it's going to be public when this video goes live. If you want to help me out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. All these things help me out a lot. You can sponsor it here or sponsor down here. Much appreciated. So let's go and get into the code. Here's Visual Studio. First file we're going to look at is just the requirements. We only have 5 here. First 2, not really necessary anyways. UV is a popular Python project manager. Not necessary to know what this is. If you don't, ignore it. AWS CDK lib, where CDK stands for Cloud Development Kit. This is what I mentioned in the intro video and the last one. This isn't going to come into play until the very last video in the series. And if you never learn what CDK is, not necessary at all to run through this whole video series, disregarding the last video. Requests, let's make simple Flask web requests. This is going to be needed to talk between our microservices. Flask, obviously, we're building Flask apps, and Python-.env. This is going to allow us to load environment variables from a local environment variable file. We only actually need this when we're running locally, because when we're running on AWS, we're going to actually specify these environment variables in our Docker configuration in our ECS task definitions. Going on, PyProject.toml, bunch of CI stuff, continuous integration, linting, formatting, syntaxing. Here's our dependencies as well, duplicated here, same as the requirements.txt. If you want to be a little more jazzed up, install with the UV packet Python project manager instead of just a simple pip install -r requirements.txt. Now, if you don't know what a toml file is, you don't know what pyproject.toml is, you're starting to be like, oh man, this video is already too much, I give up. Don't. This pyproject.toml is completely unnecessary. If you don't never learn what it is, won't actually impede you at all in this video series. Going on, here's our Flask app 1 app.py. Now, how are we going to do this? We have 3 apps, Flask app 1, 2, and 3. Each one of these are going to represent a microservice, both here locally and on AWS. So going back to our code, here's Flask app 1, the app.py file. Look at the imports, datetime, print the current datetime, requests. Already talked about it for web requests between the microservices. We're importing from the init file, the create app function. Let's go to the init.py, create app. All it does is create the Flask application. Nothing crazy. We're loading load.env, loading environment variables, as we already said, OS. And then we're loading the environment variables. We'll go through this file in a little bit. And then we're calling the create app function and actually running it to get our Flask app. All good so far. Nothing too crazy. Going on. First route, just the index route as specified here. And we're just returning the current datetime. Great. Here's where we start getting a little testy. Our route get message makes a request to our microservice 2 running in the Flask app 2 for the endpoint return message. Let's go to Flask app 2 app.py, and we see the function get message under the route return message, and all it's returning is here's a message from Flask app 2. So we know we actually received a response from the second Flask app, our second microservice. Go back. Same thing, get message across cluster. Same thing here, we're making a request to Flask app 3, and it's going to return a similar message. Now, why do I call it get message across cluster? Because when we run this on AWS, this first Flask app 2 is going to be in the same cluster. We're going to have an ECS service for Flask app 1 and ECS service for Flask app 2, both in the same cluster. And then we're going to have a second cluster that's going to run an ECS service for Flask app 3 alone. That's why I specify this endpoint as this. Now, going on, let's look at our environment variables. Flask config, simple production and development. If you leave this off, it doesn't even really matter. AWS account ID and AWS region, these are variables we're going to use in the automation scripts, not necessary to have them right now. And then port flask app 1, 2, and 3. Where are these being read at? Right here, flask app 1, reload the environment variable port flask app 2, and port flask app 3. Now you might be asking, why are we putting them in an environment variable file? We're only using them once in flask app 1. We're not using them app.py for flask app 2 or 3, so why not just hard code them? Good argument. The reason being, we're going to use them in the CDK, Cloud Development Script, functions later on in the video series. That's why I specify them here. And then these 3 variables down here, not necessary right now. They'll come into play later on in the video series for the CDK Cloud Development Kit video. Okay, so make sure you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables defined. You can leave these blank for now if you want, but you must have at least these 3. And this one, again, not really required, but might as well put it there anyway. Okay, so we have that defined. Going on, here's our Dockerfile. Nice thing is we can use the same Dockerfile for each one of our Flask apps. Why? Because our work directory is going to be app, and we're just going to copy all the files. Meaning we're going to copy Flask app 1, 2, and 3 all to the same repository. Is this best practice in production? Probably not. But it's a quick and easy way to get this app working. And if you're going to segment your application with different Docker files, it's very easy to do. So for time and also ease of learning, we're going to keep them all in the same directory. So we're at our pyproject.toml, pip install uv wheel, and then uv pip install -r pyproject.toml --system. What am I doing here? Instead of doing pip install, if I can spell right, -r requirements.txt, I'm just running this instead by also adding this here. All this means is that instead of going with requirements.txt and typing them all down here, you would put them in here as just another one here, like matplotlib. That's how you would do it instead. So going back, if you don't want to do that, you'd rather just do the pip install, you can just do this, run pip install, get rid of this, get rid of this, and then boom, you're ready to go. So UV is just a little faster, and we start getting more and more dependencies. It makes life way easier. Okay, so we install dependencies and we just copy all the code. Now, final part, Docker Compose. What's going on here? We're creating 3 separate Docker containers. Let's minimize this just a little bit so we can see it at a high level. Flask app 1, 2, 3. And it's creating a simple shared network so Docker services can communicate with each other, similar to what's going to happen with microservices on AWS with ECS Service Connect. So Flask app 1, we have our Dockerfile. There's only one shared between all of them. Our simple command running here. We specify our entry point. What is the entry point? If you know anything about Flask, you know you have to specify the Flask app environment variable or specify directly when you're calling it. We're not calling it here. We're specifying it here. And we're just saying the entry point of our Flask application is Flask app 1 app.py. So when we run this Docker container, it will launch the Flask app 1. And we're loading the rest of the environment variables from the shared default.env file. We're exposing port 5000, naming the container, Flask app 2. Similar, except for instead of port 5000, we're using port 5001. And instead of Flask app being set to Flask app 1, we're setting to Flask app 2. And likewise for Flask app 3. Now, we can actually run this using Docker Compose and see the microservices in action. But before we do, real quick, go back to app.py in Flask app 1, the Flask app 1 folder, and just switch these URLs. Comment out this one, uncomment this one, comment out this one, and uncomment this one. Why are we doing this? Because we're running this locally. Flask app 2 is the name of the container as we specified in our Docker Compose right here. That's how they're going to communicate with each other. That's how they're going to do DNS resolution. Now we go back. When we're on AWS and using ECS Service Connect, DNS resolution is going to happen with names that we specify for each container. So we just need to switch them here. So after you do this, go ahead and save it. Now you can open up your terminal. Make sure you have Docker Desktop running. And once you do, Docker compose up -- build. Run it. Let it run, let it run. You see all three running. Open up your browser. We're going to go to localhost 5000, give it a refresh. We see the current time. Get message, flask app 2, get message across cluster, flask app 3. Great. So this is how we get microservices working on our local machine. And by working, it's very much a sandbox environment. It's not true microservices. So next video, we're going to actually get on AWS and do this all with the AWS components instead of just running our local machine. Stay tuned for that one. I'll see you in the next one.